Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a Meeple family. Another beautiful day to enjoy, in my opinion, one of the best hobbies in the universe. So today we're counting down my top 100 board games, I guess up to this point of 2025. Today we are breaking down 50 through 41. Now if you've missed any of the previous videos, I have the playlist in the description and you can check that out at your leisure. But to keep this video short, let's jump right in. And just to preface this, I am dealing with some seasonal allergies. Every time the seasons change, which of course I live in a 4-season state, I typically have allergies. So that's what's going on with my voice. If it sounds a little funky today, that's what that is. All right, so number 50 is Race to the Raft. So I have a history of staying away from cooperative games. But recently, I've been soloing many of them and really enjoying them. So let me preface this particular game by saying that in general, I love the Isle of Cats universe. So in this game, you are faced with these different puzzles that you have to set up and then figure out. So there's this whole book of these different campaigns and scenarios that you're gonna work through, which I'm an absolute sucker for and I love, and I am so glad the designer of the game took the time, energy, and effort to create this amazing game that has so much variability and gameplay within it. But the way that the puzzle works is the overall goal is to get varying cats across this burning island onto a raft. And every time you lay down a new path piece, you're also drawing this polyomino fire tile from the bag that is ginormous, and you're having to actually grow and extend your fire at the same time. So you're connecting this new fire to the existing fire, and it's thematically kind of consuming this island. So you can really feel, at least I do, I feel the pressure of, kind of frantically trying to get these cats to the raft as this fire is kind of organically spreading over the island. Now, obviously, you have some control of it, but these pieces from the polyomino bag, like I was saying, for fire are like ginormous and they're super wonky pieces. So it does feel like the fire is spreading quite quickly and the complexity continues to build upon itself as you work your way through this campaign book. So for instance, that may be that like certain colors of cats have to reach the raft in a certain order, or there'll be different objectives that you have to do in order to complete that particular scenario. So it just continues to compound on itself and get more difficult. So this is a game that I get out at least once a week and I try to tackle one of the scenarios either where I left off or maybe one that I failed on last week. And I have a few games like that just kind of sit out, and I know it's like my own personal Sudoku challenge every day or at least once a week because that's typically more practical of how often I can get these games out. And I love puzzling these out solo, so that is why Race for the Raft is my number 50. All right, number 49 is Harmonies. This one is a stunning blend of spatial puzzle and pattern building. Obviously, two of my greatest weaknesses in the hobby, but this one doesn't quite feel as intimidating to me, and maybe it's because the size of the board is smaller, and I just find this one easier overall to visualize than a game like Tiny Towns, where I have a lot of problems thinking in advance so I don't cut myself off. I just really mess that one up all the time for some reason. This one, Harmonies, I don't have as much trouble with. In this game, you're basically stacking these really chunky like wooden components, and they are symbolizing the landscape that you're creating for different creatures and animals to inhabit. So you're making like rivers and forests and mountains, and I think fields is one of them. It took me a little bit to wrap my mind around the scoring, and that is one thing I feel like introducing it to other players, it's gonna take a playthrough for them to fully truly be able to understand how all those components in the scoring work. Because for me, personally, the first few times I played, I was focused on the completely wrong things and didn't get nearly as many points as had I taken other avenues or gone for building certain types of things together. I was more focused on getting animals inhabited into my space, and that's one aspect of it. But the other huge aspect is actually knowing how these different buildings, or not buildings, but well, one of them is buildings, but the different landscapes score, because that can be a huge part of the game as well. Truly, I just think that's going to come like over time of playing the game repeatedly to have that well-versed perspective. This is a lovely, relaxing puzzle game, and that is why it's my number 49. All right, number 48 is Earth. Earth is a game I really enjoy because, well, I love tableau building, and something that is probably integrated in me as a solo player is that I hate downtime on my turn when I'm waiting for other players to take their turn, which is, like I said, probably why I love to play solo, because I can keep my thought process kind of fluid and not have these huge lag times where I'm like, what was I doing? What was my plan? So that is a reason that I personally love solo gaming. In particular to Earth, what I love about it is that everybody gets to potentially, depending on what their tableau looks like, do something on other people's turns. So Earth is a game that I enjoy solo and with people because there is so much interaction and everyone is always engaged and not just like checked out waiting for their turn to circle back around to them. I really enjoy that in a game, and there's so much variety in cards and strategies, lots of combo goodness, and really I've never had two games that feel the same. And I think a lot of that has to do with just like the enormous variety of cards, and then there's all these different avenues that you can decide to pursue as you're kind of building your engine and your point system. I always love seeing the end of this game, like as it's constructed on the table. It's really, really beautiful, and you can just see this like little ecosystem that you've created. Really fun, really satisfying game. That's why Earth is my number 48. All right, number 47 is Lacrimosa. This is not only a beautifully designed game, I also love the theme behind the game, and it really makes sense once you begin playing, just like how everything correlates and works together. This game is all about completing Mozart's like unfinished symphony, and I find that to be such a unique and clever theme. You're basically playing as these patrons that are commissioning the final parts of his masterpiece, and in this game you have to balance your resources between like funding compositions as well as, if I remember correctly, recalling memories, which is ironic because I'm struggling myself to remember. And you're trying to put all that together in this amazing, aesthetically beautiful game. This game also has these dual player boards where you're kind of tucking cards to take actions, which I think is like an awesome thing that not a lot of board games do. So I really enjoy that. Similar to Aquatica, but very different at the same time. And yeah, this game just has like fantastic strategy. I love the decision space when I'm playing. Of course, I love the aesthetic of it on my table. You're basically deciding whether to use cards for like immediate actions, long-term benefits. The production quality I think is really great in this game. It has this beautiful, elegant artwork that really suits the theme so well. And like I said, this is one that when it's on your table, it is kind of a table hog, but it just offers this beautiful like premium gaming experience. And of course, I do love the solo mode, and that is why it's my number 47. All right, my number 46 is Flamecraft. And in this game, which is basically at its core, you're placing out workers, you're fulfilling contracts, and you're also like managing your resources at the same time. But it's also like oozing with adorable artwork, and it's just very whimsical. It's fun. It's inviting to play, but yet it holds a punch in strategy, which is shocking because when you look at this game, and every time I get it out to play, I'm always surprised how much thought has to go into truly like winning this game. Because when you look at the game, I just feel like the depth that's actually there is not what, like it's very deceiving. It's very, very deceiving when you get it out. You're like, this is a kid's game. And then you're like, oh man, like I'm actually really having to think about how I want my different combos to work and what's gonna benefit, you know, my game. There's way more thought that goes into it. It always shocks me every time I get it on the table, every time. I think the solo game is absolutely great, but I really like this game at 2 players. I really enjoy playing this one with my kids. Again, usually one-on-one. I don't make the mistake of having too many kids at the table at once. I feel like it gets a little chaotic. This is one like they love the artwork. They're always excited to play it when we put it on the table. And of course they are able to tackle the gameplay. And my son, who is like extremely strategic at board games, He beats me all the time in this, but that's okay because I just love playing. I love the world that you escape to when you're playing this game. It just feels so mystical, fun, charming, and you just want to live there amongst the dragons. At least I do. This to me is a game that just makes people happy. Whenever I bring it to the table, I look around, everyone's smiling. So it's this perfect mix of like cozy, strategy, and also you can solo it. So that's why it's my number 46. Holy cow, just a few more to go. I'm hoping I can keep my like allergies at bay here, but they are flaring up on me for sure. All right, number 45 is Gingerbread House. This is a lovely like fairy tale themed tile laying game where you play as witches and you're luring storybook characters into your gingerbread house. It's actually quite dark now that I think about it, but it's so much fun. The gameplay in this one is all about stacking these like domino style tiles to create matches. And then you collect resources from that. And then you take those resources and you capture these fairy tale characters for points. So I love the way the puzzle unfolds, and it's always different when I play because you just get like a random, I think it's like 15 tiles, I want to say. And you're always having to decide like when to cover certain icons and basically how to best use your collected gingerbread and your stairways. And it's just always keeping me thinking. This is a game I always have out from like Thanksgiving to past New Year's, and it gets played often. My favorite way to play is 2-player, and it provides a really quick gameplay, but it's still super satisfying as far as like the complexity in the brain space, and like gives you a good brain burn, but not too much. Plus the theme is just, it's delightful. It's kind of quirky, a little scary, whimsical. I do feel like it's very family friendly, great replayability, easy to get to the table, easy rule set. That's why it's my number 45. All right, number 44 is Castle Panic. This is another cooperative game. Who knew? I kind of used to snub my nose up at cooperative games for a while because, well, I just blew it off because I'm like, I'm not gonna like cooperative games. But as I've been kind of realizing, like I've had a light bulb epiphany moment where I'm like, some of these work really well solo, and I really, really enjoyed them. And this is definitely one of them. I love the theme. I definitely am all about the dungeon, castle, like I love that. I love that stuff. So the theme is there for me. I love the artwork, the concept of the game. It makes sense like with what you're doing, but I'm gonna tell you, this is an administrative adventure game at its core. And if you don't know what that is, I'll try to put the definition for you down below. It's a new term I'm trying to break in to the board gaming world. I don't know if it's working, but you'll hear it a lot on my channel. Basically, in a nutshell, it's where the decision space is just really easy based on the cards you get, and you are just kind of moving things around. And in this one, you're like defending things and turning them and, you know, wounds and, you know, moving them to different rings. Like it's very basic. It doesn't take a lot of brain power. And sometimes I need this game. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something, and I enjoy every time that I get to play this one. I typically play it solo, though you could play it with your family or a group, people in general, because it is cooperative. The way that this particular game works is there's these different rings, if you don't already know. It's kind of reminds me of like a dartboard, and in the middle is where your castle is, like where the bullseye of a dartboard would be is where your castle is. So you're defending your castle like in a 360 perspective. So you have all these different monsters attacking you, but only certain cards work within certain rings of that dartboard. So there's some strategic thought, but it's very small because in a way, based on the cards you get, the decision's kind of already made for you, which is why I would say it is within that administrative adventure board game category, which I never want it to sound bad because I personally love that category of board game. So that is why this is my number 44. All right, number 43 is Everdell. Well, this is a pure classic in the board game universe. I'm not really sure if it's the tree, if it's the artwork, the gameplay, or it's like an overall combination of all those things. But this game has become a staple within the board game universe. It's very iconic, to say the least. This is another one where you're using card combinations, tableau building, to really build an engine of points by the end of the game. I've been playing this one a lot on the app lately, which their app is absolutely outstanding, but I still love to get this one out and put it onto the table. There are countless expansions. It's quite overwhelming for this one. I've kind of lost how many expansions have like come out, and honestly, I just basically play the base game when I play this personally. But I know a lot of people are like diehard for like certain expansions, like they won't even consider playing this game without certain expansions. As far as the solo goes, I do like this one solo, but this is one I actually really enjoy multiplayer. My only caveat or downside about playing the multiplayer is because I've been exposed to this game so much. Like I've played it countless times. So I always feel like my opponents, especially if it's their like first or like they've only played it a little bit, they're at such a disadvantage, like not having the foresight and understanding and all the knowledge of how like the cards work that I would have. So it makes it, for me, feel like really an uneven playing field when it's someone's like first, second, or even third time and they just haven't been exposed to all the cards. Because when I get a certain card, I know to hold on to it and like wait for another card to see if that's the avenue strategically I want to go on, or maybe I want to pivot early in the game because somebody took a card that I would have like wanted or needed, or like I haven't seen that one come out, so I'm going to pivot to this direction. So I don't know, that is just like a unique issue with this game in particular that I notice more than other games. If it's like your first, second, even third time playing, I just feel like you're gonna be at a disadvantage because you're not familiar with the cards. So regardless of that one little caveat, I absolutely love the Everdell world. I mean, I really don't know like who doesn't in the board game hobby. It's a pretty amazing game. That's why it's my number 43. All right, number 42, Stardew Valley, the board game. There was recently a reprint for this game, and this is just a board game based off a video game, which literally took the world by storm, to say the least. Unlike most people, I personally was not able to play the video game, so the board game was really my first introduction to the Stardew Valley world, and I was obsessed from the moment I played it the first time. I loved it. Initially, I played with my husband, and we played it like, I think back to back. Like I think we played it twice in one day, which is quite extensive play for this game. But basically, we wanted to make sure that we could like reach and get all the community center objectives completed. All right, so in this game, you're in this adorable little world and you have different objectives depending on like the depth of difficulty you want to play. And again, this is cooperative, so you're kind of working on these together, but this is one cooperatively that I didn't feel like there was really like a quarterback person, like you were still having all your own encounters, and I felt like the decision space was really good in this game. So you have these like overall like generic things you have to do, like I don't know, like get a chicken or like have X amount of money. And then there's also this community center which needs to be remodeled, and there's like a ton of different tasks you need to do for the community center. And that's really, to me, like the hard mode is if you're doing the community center like renovation. So all my kids have played the video game. Obviously, they love it. And I bought this finally with the reprint, and we all played it together, and it was probably one of the better experiences we've had around the table playing a cooperative board game. And I don't know if it's just because they like had the video game experience and knowledge, so it's just like more fun for them to like see how it was implemented in a board game. But regardless, I don't know, it was just a delightful experience, and you know, the time around the table with your kids is priceless. And I also love this one solo. That's why it's my number 42. Well, thankfully we're at number 41 because these allergies are giving me like a rough time here. I don't know how much more I could do, but this is the game Calico. I'll try not to talk about this one too long because I feel like most people are familiar with it, but this is, again, like an extremely popular board game. It's one of the first like tile laying games that I really fell in love with. This is one of those AEG flat out game mashups where they have this incredible solo scenario and achievement tracker in the back of the rule book, and I am obsessed with those, and I will complete every single one it offers until there's nothing else to check off. So I'm still working through that years later. I just love it because it offers like so much content to solo gamers, and I just always appreciate when they put those in the rule book. I really hope and wish that more publishers start to follow suit and do a similar thing. So in this one, which I'm sure you guys already know, you're creating these quilts. You know, you look at this game and you're like, oh, this is like super approachable and so easy, and there's a cat on the cover. And the problem with this game is that, for me anyway, is like you want to do everything, and that is the hardest part, is deciding what you can do and what you're gonna focus on to optimize points. Because it is nearly impossible, at least for me. I'm sure there's like expert Calico people out there, but for me, it's like almost impossible to do everything. But you are drafting tiles to create these quilts to attract certain cats to certain patterns that you're creating on the quilt. So there's also these tiles on your quilt that offer you like points, and they kind of give you an objective. And those are sometimes really frustrating to me. So you're like, do I draft the cats? Can I meet the objectives on my quilt? And then there's buttons, and it's just like, you want to do everything and you can't. So with all that being said, it does offer like expansive, different avenues that you can take. My problem is that I get hyper-focused on trying to take them all, because to me that just seems like the way you win, and it's not. It's not the way you win, at least in my time playing this game. Every time you play, there's a lot of variability in this game. Of course, the tiles that come up are different, the objectives are different, the cat combinations are different. I love playing this game solo, and I really love playing this particular game solo because I do feel like there is so much paralysis in your thoughts as you're trying to think of like which moves and tiles to take and like where to place them. And for me, like my turns are quite time intensive, and I have a hard time with downtime that can be caused from other players' turns. Like when I'm waiting for my turn, like I totally lose my train of thought. So this is one playing solo is a good fit for me. Because I don't like the pressure of people waiting on me on my turn. So yeah, anyway, long story short, love the solo, love the variability, such a great game. That's why it's my number 41, Calico. Well, hopefully those all made sense. Just know I'm dealing with some seasonal allergies here, and I was pushing through for this video. But that wraps up another 10 board games, and we have completed the halfway point. We have now done 50 through 41. So next week I will hopefully be releasing 40 through 31, and we're just getting closer and closer to my top 10, which I'm hoping I feel better about because I'm really excited to talk about those games with you and just kind of share those and the things I love about them. If you guys haven't already, would love to have you subscribe and hit that thumbs up button and hang out with me here on YouTube. I really enjoy having the ability right now in my life to make this content and share my love for board games with you all. I love your comments. I love chatting with you about board games. It's so fun, and I hope that you can find some time to carve out and maybe get a solo play in today or even this week. I know I will be probably today with a cup of tea, waiting out till these allergies like move out of my body. As always, thank you guys so much for taking time to watch this video and hang out with me here, and I'll see you next week.
You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.